Hey, welcome back everyone to the World According to Briggs. This video is kind of a remake of something we did about 6 months ago. 6 months ago we did the most expensive cities and we were just looking at real estate. I got a bunch of emails and a bunch of comments from people asking me to talk about the, everything, the cost of living, all that stuff. So we thought we'd update this one. It's been about 6 months and the cities have changed a lot. I was shocked at how much the prices in real estate have shifted from one city to the other. So let's take a look. Hope you enjoy it. Let's take a look at cities of the rich and famous. You know, the cities where you wake up, you walk down the street, and you buy a cup of coffee that sets you back more than a decent lunch. Your neighbors might be famous, and a trip to the grocery store feels like you're splurging at a high-end boutique. Welcome to the playground of the rich and famous, or as I like to call it, why is my bank account always empty? We're about to look at the top 10 US cities, where you need to have a wallet so big it doesn't return Spielberg's calls. From one coast to the other, these are spots where living it up means you gotta have a buttload of cash. So slap on your Rolex and brace yourself for a serious hit to your wallet. Today we're looking at the top 10 US cities where only the wealthy can afford to live. Let's take a look. Number 10, Miami. Oh, Miami, the sun-kissed beaches, the swaying palm trees, the azure waters. It's like living in a postcard that never loses its luster. Before you pack your bags and decide to call a realtor, let's talk dollars and cents, because let me tell you, Miami's cost of living is as high as a Rastafarian at a reggae festival. First up, we're not talking about those eye-watering price tags on the waterfront properties or luxury condos with views so stunning you'd never want to close your eyes. Those do exist and they're multi-million-dollar places, but we're just talking about the basic stuff here, where you need to cough up, on average, a cool $570,000 for a house. That's end of 2023. That's right, $570,000. That figure's jumped up almost 10% from the previous year. So if you're thinking about investing in real estate here, you better be a trust fund baby or make at least 6 figures. Now, the lavish spending doesn't just stop at housing. Oh no, it stretches its tentacles into every aspect of living in Miami. Groceries, utilities, dining out, entertainment, and even those basic services that you wouldn't think twice about elsewhere come with a premium here, especially if you're eyeing the more glamorous neighborhoods. And why wouldn't you? Everyone wants a slice of that American pie. Let's talk about the not so obvious stuff about living in Miami and Florida, really. Florida might be giving you a break when it comes to no state income tax, but don't start celebrating yet. Property taxes and insurance in Miami are like that uninvited guest at a party. Suddenly they're there and surprisingly demanding, especially for those homes on the waterfront. With that ever-looming risk of hurricanes and flooding, insurance companies are rubbing their hands together, and not necessarily in a good way. Now, Miami is a tourist hotspot. Everything in tourist towns, tourist cities, it's going to be a little more expensive, not just for the tourists, for everyone. Miami sees over 26.5 million visitors every single year, generating over $20 billion in revenue. When you got 26 million people coming into your city every year as a tourist, you could raise your prices. And it's not like you get a free card that says, oh, I'm a resident, I want it cheaper. When you figure all the numbers, then you just think about the reputation. Miami is practically synonymous with luxury. Yachts, high-end sports cars, designer boutiques, exclusive clubs. The city is a playground for the rich and famous. Embracing this lifestyle isn't just about having the means. It's about having a significant financial cushion to fall back on, because in Miami, the urge to splurge is real. This is a city that is basically on a perpetual state of vacation, and most of us can't afford to be on vacation every single day of the year. The cost of living in Miami is 24% above the national average, and housing is 74% above the national average. Number 9, Aspen, Colorado. Aspen is kind of one of my dream places to live. Always has been. But there are 2 types of people that live in Aspen, Colorado. The super wealthy and those who work for them. This little town, tucked away in the Rocky Mountains, has long been a playground for the rich and famous, where the air is as crisp as a fresh stack of $100 bills. I talked to a guy in Aspen one time. He owned a very expensive house. This is years ago. I think it was worth $1 million then. It's probably worth $20 million now. But I said, geez, what are the taxes on a place like that? And he did a Thurston Howell, remember the rich guy from Gilligan's Island? He did an impersonation of him and did the laugh just like him and said, taxes, the big lie. It was kind of disturbing. He never explained what he meant. He also said that about Harvard, so I don't know. The slopes of Aspen is where celebrities and the international elite come to ski. You can go ski there too, you just have to have a whole bunch of money. This is like a high-end lodge that looks like it's straight out of a luxury home magazine. The town is dotted with upscale boutiques where the price tags make you wonder if you accidentally picked up an item from an art gallery. Gourmet restaurants that serve dishes with names you can't pronounce, and exclusive spas where you can get a massage with oil so rare they might as well be unicorn tears. These are shops where their regular customers have never uttered the phrase, "That's too expensive." Now the homes in Aspen are ridiculously expensive. One of the reasons everything in Aspen is so pricey is the town's commitment to preserving its charm and environment. Development is tighter than security at Fort Knox, limiting supply of new homes and making the existing ones as coveted as backstage passes to a Taylor Swift concert. To put a number on this madness, the average home value in Aspen is a cool $3.2 million. That's the average, everyone. If you poke around on Zillow, you'll realize that most of the decent homes are $20 million and above. There's only a few that are under $10 million, and they're pretty much shacks. There's one right now going for $6 million. If I were to put that house, let's say up on Mount Hood, which is right outside of Portland, Oregon, nice mountain town, people go skiing up there. If I were to put that house there, they'd be lucky if they got $800,000 for it, and they want $6 million in Aspen for it. There's an insane one, comes with a lot of property, but it's going for $80 million. The cost of living in Aspen, Colorado is 50% above the national average, and housing is 164% above the national average. Number 8, San Diego, California. Life in San Diego is almost worth the money to most Americans. It is considered to have the best weather of all the major cities in the US, and it has some of the best beaches in the country, if not the world. This is why it carries the nickname America's Finest City. When you stack San Diego up against California's other major cities, you'll see what a gem this one actually is. The endless sunshine, pristine beaches, and postcard-worthy lifestyle is legendary in this Southern California city. Now here's the rub. Those sun-drenched dreams come with a price tag that might give even the most enthusiastic sun-seeker pause. Let's see why. First off, if you're eyeing a spot in San Diego, you gotta have some financial muscle to match it. It's a place where high-paying jobs in the biotech, military, and tech sectors are the golden ticket to affording a lifestyle in this great city. Yet, with great opportunity comes fierce competition. Landing one of these coveted positions is often seen as the only way you could afford a life here without having to constantly check your banking account or selling feet pics. Speaking of costs, let's talk about real estate. The average home price hovers around $994,000, so just under $1 million is the average there, which is enough to make your wallet cry for mercy like it's in a Ronda Rousey armbar. This steep entry price into the housing market is a testament to San Diego's desirability, but also a barrier to many hoping to plant roots in this city. The average person that wants to live in San Diego will live in the outskirts of San Diego. And those outskirts cities are still pretty expensive. Santee and El Cajon are two perfect examples. They're on the outskirts and to the eastern side of San Diego. They're considered more affordable, and the average home price there is about $800,000. But for those families that do want to settle down in San Diego, the financial considerations extend beyond just housing. Education and childcare in San Diego carry a premium, especially in the more affluent neighborhoods, like La Jolla. The city's popularity as a tourist destination doesn't help the locals either. Major attractions like the San Diego Zoo, Balboa Park, and the Gaslamp Quarter draw visitors from around the globe, and the areas near these hotspots see inflated prices for service and amenities. I mean, everything's expensive in California, a little bit more in cities like San Diego. In San Diego, the cost of living is 68% above the national average, and housing is 195% above the national average. Number 7, Honolulu, Hawaii. Living in Honolulu is like living in a dream every single day. The nightmare doesn't begin until you go over your finances. The housing market here is among the priciest in the US, with an average home price of around $787,000, thanks to limited land and high demand. This island's remote location means that everything from groceries to furniture costs more because it's an imported good. Everything's imported here except macadamia nuts, pineapple, and fish. The high cost of living in Honolulu has been aptly nicknamed the Paradise Tax, a premium for the stunning views, warm climate, and vibrant culture. I hate the word vibrant, I don't know why I added it there. But it's not just about the goods and the properties. Hawaii has some of the highest state income and property taxes in the nation. Their financial demands make living in Honolulu a luxury that requires significant financial planning, sacrifice, and maybe a giant YouTube channel. Despite the financial hurdles, many find the cost worth the unparalleled beauty and lifestyle of Honolulu. It's got a unique blend of natural stuff and cultural richness that's hard to find anywhere else in the nation. And here's their state fish. I can't pronounce that to save my life. But living here might mean tighter budgeting and some financial sacrifices, like food. But for those who live here, paradise is priceless. If you want to live here, the cost of living in Honolulu is 86% above the national average, and housing is 216% above the national average. You can't get an outhouse here for under $500,000. Number 6, Seattle, Washington. Living in Seattle, Washington offers a paradox of sorts. On one hand, you're in an exciting metro area known for its tech scene surrounded by stunning landscapes. The presence of companies like Amazon and Microsoft bring high-paying jobs, but also drives up the cost of living significantly. I should change significantly with ridiculously. It is expensive there. From enjoying a premium-priced cup of Seattle's famous coffee to everyday essentials like groceries and utilities, everything costs more in Seattle. The booming tech industries not only increased the cost of living, but also led to gentrification. Same thing that happened in San Francisco. This has changed many of the neighborhoods in Seattle, pushing out longtime residents and small businesses who can't afford to keep up with rising rents. Housing prices have skyrocketed, with an average home costing about $847,000, making it a challenge for non-tech workers to afford living in this city. One of my favorite YouTubers is a real estate agent up there, Monica Church. She's been at YouTube forever. Even she talks about how crazy the prices are up there. But it's not just real estate and coffee that's expensive in Seattle. Everything from education to childcare to getting a beer at the Cyclops Bar. They have great nachos, and you'll find me there if I'm in Seattle. Not the whole time I'm in Seattle, but at least for an hour or so. Despite the financial challenges, Seattle continues to attract people, and it's everything. It's the tech jobs, the natural beauty, a wall of gum. This city definitely offers a unique lifestyle. You just have to be able to afford it if you want to do it. There was a time, like back in the 90s, where Seattle was a very affordable place to live. Still a beautiful city. The cost of living in Seattle is about 80% above the national average, and their housing is 224% above the national average. Number 5, Washington, D.C. Living at the nation's capital often feels like being at the heart of everything important happening in the country, but for some reason, you feel like you need a shower after being near it. It's kind of strange. Washington, D.C. has a truckload of problems, but it is still very expensive. They're breaking the rules. When most of your stats suck, you're supposed to be affordable. Not here in Washington, D.C. This city's got a set of balls. It knows it sucks, but they're going to charge you like it's really nice. So why is Washington, D.C. so expensive? This city draws a highly educated workforce, pushing up median incomes and, along with them, expectations of a certain quality of life. This means everything from your dog's therapist to your apartment's rent comes with a heftier price tag. Half the people working here don't make as much money as they probably could in the private sector. They're working for the government. So they make about half what they could if they worked for a private company. And there's a lot of private companies in Washington, D.C. Normally, these are international organizations that do work with the United States. You're an analyst for them, you make $250,000 a year. You work for the government, you make $72,000 a year. But it's those private sector workers that are driving up the price of everything because of how much money they make. Housing, whether you're looking to buy or rent, is another area where DC can feel like a gladiator ring, with an average home value of $610,000 and rental prices soaring above many other U.S. cities. The rental prices are actually ridiculous here. Their homes are a little bit lower than some of the other ones on this list, but their rent prices being so high, their overall housing costs are well above the national average and a lot of the other places on this list. Their cost of living in Washington, D.C. is 80% above the national average, and housing is 224% above the national average. Number 4, Boston, Massachusetts. Living in Boston is like being in the middle of a history class and a cool cultural festival all at the same time. This city is famous for its important place in American history and for having some of the best universities on the frickin' planet. Because of all these cool things, a lot of people want to live here. And when a lot of people want to live someplace, it's expensive. Finding a place to live in Boston is super expensive, so it makes it kind of hard. The houses and apartments in popular neighborhoods like Beacon Hill, Back Bay, and North End can cost a lot of money because there isn't a lot of room to build new homes. Boston makes it kind of rough on your personal finances. The average price for a house here, about $718,000. And that's not all, folks. The taxes in Massachusetts are higher than many other states. And they got all the taxes. They don't really cut you a break on anything. Kind of ironic for, a place that had the Boston Tea Party, which was a tax protest. Because of the universities, sort of like Washington, D.C., because of them, a lot of wealthy and international people move there. This helps drive up prices. One other complaint I saw about living in Boston is a lot of the buildings are older, so you might end up paying more for utilities like heating, especially during the winter months. Boston is a great city if you can manage the high cost of living. Living here is all about enjoying what the city has to offer while figuring out a way to pay for it. Yet despite all the financial gymnastics required to thrive here, Boston's appeal is undeniable. The cost of living in Boston, Massachusetts is 86% above the national average. Housing is 194% above the national average. The rent is insane in Boston. Now, it varies, obviously, from apartment to apartment. That's why I didn't get too in-depth on it here, but that plays a big part in the housing. Number 3, Los Angeles. Los Angeles, like San Diego, has a lot of really positive things about it. Los Angeles just has a lot of negative things to go along with it. I mean, they've got the great weather, they've got the wonderful beaches, they have probably more things to do than Las Vegas. And that's only because Los Angeles is like 3 times the size of Las Vegas. Healthcare in Los Angeles is one of the biggest ripoffs they have going. As far as healthcare goes, cost-wise, Los Angeles is one of the highest in the nation. A lot of the schools have problems, so people send their kids to private schools a lot. I'm a product of a Los Angeles private school. At least I was until they threw me out in 9th grade. Then I had to go to public school. I guess nuns just don't appreciate a good dirty joke, or 20 dozen of them. So I was like reading this tourist Chamber of Commerce type thing from Los Angeles about a year ago. And I wrote this down, or I copy and pasted it, I should say. Living in Los Angeles offers unparalleled opportunities for work and play, access to beautiful natural landscapes, and the chance to rub elbows with celebrities. However, to truly enjoy Los Angeles, come prepared to work hard in whatever industry you apply yourself to. Now, that's all well and good. The one thing about rubbing elbows with celebrities, that's BS. I used to be a stand-up comedian. I was at a lot of the stand-up, comedy clubs. So let's eliminate all the stand-up comedians I've met in my life. Just talk other celebrities. I've probably seen a dozen, and I lived in Los Angeles from birth till I left for the Army, and then another like 8 years. You don't see celebrities that often. The average home value in Los Angeles is $953,000. Rent is astronomical, the cost of living is insane, and they will tax you out the yahoo. The cost of living in Los Angeles is 71% above the national average, and housing is about 214% above the national average. Number 2, New York City. If you live in New York City, you're like in the center of the universe, where finance, culture, and dining converge to create an electrifying atmosphere. Yes, I am bringing out the big words like electrifying today. The only problem with being at the center of the universe is it's expensive. Literally. The price tag on housing alone can make your head spin, with the average home decimaled somewhere between $700,000 and $800,000. They have condos going for $8 million. But the hefty price don't just stop there. Groceries, utilities, and the simplest of service demand a premium, reflecting the high cost of doing business in the Big Apple. Transportation is one of those things that sneak up on people that aren't familiar with New York. Nobody owns a car, and if you do, it's very expensive. You got to pay for the insurance, then you got to pay for a parking spot because no place in New York has parking. So you end up taking Ubers and taxis and everything else you can just to get around this massive city. And at the end of the month, you start wondering where $800 went. Of course, New York State and New York City have some pretty hefty taxes. Between federal and city income taxes, along with sales and property taxes, your wallet might start feeling a little bit light. Despite these financial hurdles, the allure of New York City's endless opportunities and dynamic lifestyle keep drawing people in. Always has. Proving for many the city's offerings are worth every penny. I'm not one of them. The cost of living in New York City is 89% above the national average. Housing is 208% above the national average. That's because just about everyone rents here, and rent is outrageous in New York City. All right, before we get to number 1, if you're thinking about moving to one of these big cities, there is a link in the description area below for Home and Money. They can get you in touch with a real estate agent anywhere you want to move to in the United States. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, San Francisco. Yes, believe it or not, for all its problems, it is still the most expensive city to live in the United States. Like Seattle, the tech boom has filled this city with high earners, driving up the cost of everything from your morning coffee to a $2,000 studio apartment the size of a 1972 Ford Econoline van. I watched this video where this guy was going around asking people in San Francisco about living in the city, just miscellaneous questions. He runs into this one guy, I won't say he was homeless, but he definitely looked like he'd hit a rough patch in life. So the host asked him, do you live here in San Francisco? And he said, yeah, but I'm getting ready to move out. And he's all, why is that? He's all, it's too expensive. The host said, oh, the prices have been climbing too much recently? And he goes, no, it's always been this way. I just lost my job and can't afford anything anymore. The host goes, what'd you used to do? The guy started talking and the whole thing was beeped. It was like 30 seconds of this guy explaining what he did for a living, but it was being beeped. So it was disgusting because the host, the look on his face was like he was hearing the grossest joke ever. I still don't know what the guy did for a living. I think San Francisco, though, has hit that tipping point. There's a lot of money to be made in that city, and that's why prices are so expensive. I just think it's gotten so expensive, and the city has got so many problems that I think every single year, fewer and fewer people are seeing it as worth it, which means in about 5 or 6 years, the prices will be dropping drastically as everyone flees that city. I mean, it's already started. It has always grown. San Francisco has always grown. California has always grown. It's just the last 2 or 3 years they've started losing. Now, they've been growing for 200 years almost. Since the 1840s, California has never had a census where they actually lost population. San Francisco's had like 3 or 4. 60s, 70s, and 80s, people actually started flocking out of San Francisco. And at the 2030 census, I think we'll see it again. But people still move in there every single day. The problem is they're always short of U-Haul trucks. For every 3 U-Haul trucks that get dropped off, there's 5 people on a waiting list to get one to get out of town. The average home value in San Francisco is $1.2 million. Rent is astronomical. I haven't been bringing up rent, the prices, the exact price. They change so often, and they change so much from neighborhood to neighborhood, it almost doesn't even make sense because the information will be outdated in about a week and a half. But the cost of living in San Francisco is 137% above the national average, and housing is 408% above the national average. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Go out, have a great day, be nice to each other.